So with me is former Pakistan captain Asif Iqbal, who captained Pakistan in the Inaugural World Cup match in 1975 against Ian Chappell's Australia. And 4 years later, he captained Pakistan again in the World Cup, but this time he led them to the semi-finals where they were eventually defeated by Clive Lloyd's West Indies. And Imran Khan, the current Prime Minister of Pakistan, succeeded Asif Iqbal as Pakistan's World Cup captain in the following three editions of the tournament in 1983, 1987, and of course when they won the tournament in 1992 for the first and only time in their history. And Asif Iqbal was there at the MCG on that historic night for Pakistan cricket. Asif Iqbal also captained Kent to the county championship title in 1977, and he also had the chance to experience World Series cricket and captain the World 11. And he famously scored a century against the West Indies at the SCG in 1979. And since leaving the cricket field in 1982, Asif Iqbal has also served as an ICC match referee and has had a long and successful association with ARY. He's also been credited for bringing regular international cricket to Sharjah and the UAE throughout the 90s. Asif Iqbal is also now an MCC Life member. So firstly, welcome to the interview, Asif Iqbal, and thank you for giving up your time today.
Welcome.
So firstly, I'd like to take you back to the start. And in 1961, Pakistan toured India, and you actually played against Pakistan while you were playing for Hyderabad. Am I right in saying that?
Well, I played for South Zone, not for Hyderabad.
Okay.
But it was the South Zone team led by, I think, the former Indian player Gopinath, I think, was the captain. And yes, I played for South Zone in Hyderabad against Fazal Mahmood's Pakistan 11.
And did you ever envisage at that stage that you would end up playing for the opposition, and not just playing for the opposition, but captaining the opposition?
No, because at that stage of my life, all I was interested in was just playing cricket. And it was my passion, and cricket was my life. And because my family, except my mother and sister, my elder brother, my father passed away when I was just about 8-10 months old. So our family was mostly guided by uncles and aunts, and they were the decision maker. So my elder brother had already gone to Pakistan, I think it was 1956. And when I played against Pakistan, and prior to that I was playing first class with Ranji Trophy for Hyderabad Deccan, and I was doing reasonably well. And one of my maternal uncle, his name was Ghulam Ahmed, and he captained India actually. He played for India and he captained Hyderabad and India. And he was very confident, and he used to say that one day you're going to play for India. So that's what my hope and that's what my aim was as a kid. But as it transpired, I migrated in 61 after playing against Pakistan. Although a lot of people were saying that after my performance, Fazal Mahmood, who was then captain, he influenced my decision, but that's not correct. I was just asked by my family time to move on.
Right. So you made your Test debut shortly after in 1964. And you took 5 wickets in a Test match in 1965, and you played as an opening bowler, and that was in New Zealand, and that was your best figures in Test cricket. Did you ever imagine that you'd end up becoming a batsman, because you started your career as an opening bowler in Test cricket?
Well, for Pakistan, I did start as an opening bowler. I played for Pakistan in an unofficial Test in 1963.
And that was in England?
That was in India.
Oh,
sorry, that was in Pakistan.
Yeah.
It was against the Commonwealth 11.
Okay.
When Charlie Griffith and Rohan Kanhai and
Right.
Simon Richie Beno, I think, was the captain who brought the team there. But having said that, the official Test, yes, I played against Australia. There was only one Test that was played in Karachi. The Australian team was returning from England, and they stopped over in Karachi, and I made my Test debut at that time. Then went to Australia, where we played a one-off Test, and that was a drawn Test because it rained off. And then we went to New Zealand, and I had, I did reasonably well in all the Tests that I played. I got wickets in almost every match. But answer to your question, when I was in India, I was considered a batsman who could bowl.
Right.
I was an all-rounder, but I was considered as a middle-order batsman. I used to go number 3, 4, 5. But when I came to Pakistan, excuse me, it was just it was not there. And I used to think that, I don't know whether I'll ever get a chance to play for Pakistan, because there were some huge names, big names, huge names. The Muhammad brothers, Hanif Muhammad, Misbah Muhammad, to name a few. And Pakistan team was well established. They had some very big names. But as I said, my passion was to play cricket, so I was prepared to play in any role. So when I was given the opportunity to play, I think it was in New Zealand, the very first test, I got, 6 wickets in the match. But it was the batting that actually highlighted my position in the team, because I got, 50 odd not out, and we saved the test. We were going to lose the test. The first test against New Zealand, we were 8 down, I think, for something like very small score. And we were fighting to save the test, but Intikab Alam and myself, we remained not out, and we got a partnership, and we saved the test. And at that time, the then manager, Mia Mohammad Saeed, was also, I think, the first Pakistan captain. He mentioned to me that, you're a better batsman than a bowler. So I still remember that.
Right, and I'd like to talk about the 1967 tour of England, which transformed your career, and you played 2 significant but contrasting innings. One at Lord's, where you had to bat in a more conservative, responsible and patient fashion. But I'd also like you to talk about the match at the Oval, where at number 9 you scored 146, batting in counter-attacking fashion. And how did this tour transform your career in terms of becoming more of a batsman?
Yeah, so as I was saying earlier, I was more of a batsman who could bowl. And I also was suffering from serious back injuries. So my bowling was not really going to be my forte. I knew that, to survive in the Pakistan team, I have to perform as a batsman. Even on that tour of 67, I was taking cortisone injections to play in test matches. And the first test, as you mentioned, along with the great Hanif Muhammad, I had a very good partnership. I got 70 odd runs at Lord's to save the test, which we did. And I think that probably was the beginning of self-belief and self-confidence that, yes, I can bat. And as it happened in the third test, I really sort of played, I suppose, the innings of my lifetime, that I got the opportunity and I got the runs at the right time. And the rest is history.
And you were spurred on by the prospect of having an exhibition match, because there was a possibility of an early finish.
Yeah, that's true, because there was an announcement made that they assumed that the match was going to finish early, and there was a reasonable crowd. It was a bank holiday, I think, or a Sunday, I'm not sure. It was a Sunday, I think. There was an announcement saying that should the match finish early, there'll be an exhibition match. And somewhere back of my mind, how can anybody assume that the match is over? I mean, in cricket we believe that no match is won or lost till the last run is scored or the last wicket is taken. And maybe that back of my mind, it was there. But as it happened, everything clicked. And Intikab was my partner, and we just had an amazing partnership.
And was this your first experience of coming to England, or had you been to England in 1963 with some Pakistan development team?
Pakistan Eaglets team.
Right.
I had come here, and there were lots of players in that team which went on to play for Pakistan, like Majid Khan was there, Pervez Sajjad was there, I think Shaukat Rana was there, and I'm not sure, there were a few more. But I did reasonably well, again, both with the bat and with the ball. But my main concentration was, I just wanted to play cricket, and I knew that to get into Pakistan team it's very hard. So I was quite happy trying to develop my bowling skills. And I did reasonably well, both in the bat and ball.
And because of your performances in that 67 tour, you earned Wisden Cricketer of the Year, which is given to the 5 players who have defined an English summer, and no one can win the award more than once. And you also managed to get a contract with Kent.
Yeah.
So that tour was very crucial for you in terms of moving forward.
It was significant because at that moment I didn't even know what Wisden Cricketer of the Year meant. It was a huge honour, obviously. Later on I realised the significance of it. But what changed my cricketing attitude and my cricketing life was this professionalism for playing for Kent County. Because during that last test at the Oval, Colin Cowdrey was Kent captain. He was there, he was fielding in the slips when I got the runs, and Alan Nutt was the wicket keeper, both from Kent. And before the tour, there was I think it was the under 25 England team that toured Pakistan, and Leslie Ames was the manager of the England team, along with some Kent players like Derek Underwood and Alan Knott. They had come to Pakistan. I was the captain of the under 25 team, and again with the bat I scored 100, and I did an okay job with the ball, but my batting was really reasonably. I performed reasonably well. So at that stage, I hadn't thought of playing county cricket because I didn't even know what county cricket is, what professionalism is. But when I was offered the opportunity by Colin Cowdrey on the ground after the test match, I straight away laughed and said, yes, I would love to. And although there were a couple of other counties, Middlesex I think it was, and also Lancashire, they were interested, but I just straight away joined Kent because I had that association with Leslie Ames, a manager, great name, Colin Cowdrey, captain of Kent. Then I had this associationship or friendship kind of with Alan Knott and Derek Underwood. So I joined Kent, and that really made me the player that I ended up as.
And how glad were you that soon after joining Kent, they managed to win the county championship after a 57-year gap in 1970?
Well, I think I was paid a huge compliment by Colin Cowdrey because he was on test duty at that time and during one of the matches. And we were playing, I think it was against Gloucester. And that was a crucial match for us. And I remember him, before we left for Gloucester, he was going for England duties. He did mention that, guys, it's very important, this match you need to win. And I remember laughing and just casually mentioning, even without you, we're going to win, so don't worry. And as it happened, we did win, and I scored, I think, on a really very bad track. I think I got 90 odd runs, if I'm not mistaken. And then we did win that particular match. And then Colin, when we won the championship, he mentioned my names. He singled me out and said my contribution was huge in winning that championship.
So moving on, a significant moment in Pakistan's development as a side was the tour of New Zealand in 72 and 73 under Intikhab Alam's captaincy. It was the first time Pakistan won a test series overseas. Just how significant a moment was that if Pakistan cricket in terms of being able to believe that they can win in overseas conditions? And of course you had a memorable series as well. You scored a century during the course of the series.
Yeah, Pakistan cricket has always been in a kind of a turmoil which the players couldn't understand. It was the management, it was the officials who always created problems for the players, and the brunt of the criticism was always laid on the players. What I couldn't understand during that series was Intikhab captain for the first time winning a series, and before the end of the series it was announced that he's sacked and Majid Khan was made the captain. I was the vice captain. I was the vice captain since '69, and I wasn't expecting to be the captain after Inti won the series, but we couldn't believe it. Why the cricket board has done it, why they've changed and brought Majid Khan as captain when Intikhab has just won a away series for the first time. So that was a strange decision by the board, but as we know now, that this is how Pakistan cricket board all throughout their running of the game behaved in such odd manners. But it was a significant moment. We won the series for the first time. We had an excellent series, and when we got back, I think we were playing against England at home. That's when, while we were on the tour, Abdullah, I think, was the board president. He had announced Majid Khan as the captain, which was totally out of the blue. But then again, he was, although we drew the series, and again, as a batsman, I had a reasonably good series. And Majid was given the sack. No reason. He didn't lose the series, but he was sacked. And I think it was Intikhab who was brought back.
Now, one thing that interested me in that tour of New Zealand was a high percentage of the wickets were taken by the leg spinners, the likes of Intikhab Alam, Mushtaq Muhammad, and Wasim Raja as well. He bowled some wrist spin, didn't he?
Yeah, I think Mushtaq Muhammad was the most underrated leg spinner. If I were asked today or even during that time, I would have said that he was underbowled. He was a far better leg spinner than any of the leg spinners I played when I was playing for Pakistan. but unfortunately he wasn't given that much importance or that much bowling spells.
What were the conditions like?
Captain, I remember him, bowling against West Indies in the West Indies and winning as a test match by taking, I think, 10 wickets in the match. But coming back to the question of leg spinners taking wickets, yeah, I think that was the beginning of actually Pakistan's dominance with spinners, because after Mushtaq and Raja and Intikhab, then we started getting spinners in the team, and we had a reasonably successful lot of spinners.
And were the conditions different in New Zealand back then? Because you wouldn't typically think of New Zealand as conditions that would suit leg spinners.
It wasn't suitable for leg spinners, but I think they were not used to playing leg spinners, and our leg spinners were pretty good.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Inaugural World Cup 1975, and you captained in the first match against Australia. What were your expectations going into that tournament? You were in a tough group, Australia, West Indies and Sri Lanka. You would probably back yourselves to have beaten Sri Lanka, but you had two tough opponents to overcome in Australia and West Indies. And how disappointed or frustrated were you that after the first match you were not able to take any further part in the tournament?
Yeah, when the World Cup started, actually we were in the toughest group, but everybody was saying that any of the three teams, which is West Indies, Pakistan and Australia, they could qualify because they weren't calling us as minnows. They respected us and they thought that we're going to give a tough time. But unfortunately, after the first match, I had a hemorrhoid problem and I had to be admitted to hospital, and I didn't participate in the rest of the tournament. But again, without me, we almost won the match against West Indies, because that was a huge, huge disappointment. We were in a winning position. In the last wicket, I think, snatched the game away from us.
Yes.
They added something like 60 runs or something.
And do you feel if you had been the captain in that game, you might have been able to make the difference, because you were the regular captain at that point?
Yeah, but it's a difficult one to answer, not easy to answer.
And were you there at the ground?
No, I wasn't. I was at the hospital.
Okay.
And in fact, Bernard Julian, he called the hospital because he was my Kent colleague. He called the hospital and the nurse came to me and said that there's some Bernard Julian calling from the cricket ground, and he said, "Congratulations, your team has won." So I was over the moon. I couldn't believe that we have actually won. But then my family came after the match, who were there to watch the match, and they were sort of very disappointed. They said, "Oh, bad luck, your team has lost," and I couldn't believe it. But then they sort of narrated the whole thing, how we lost, and that was disappointing. Yeah.
And what was your reaction after playing the first match against Australia when you heard the news that Sunil Gavaskar had batted the whole 60 overs for 36 not out?
We just laughed. We thought that he was just conveying a message. He was not interested in one-day cricket. And he had a huge, huge successful tour of West Indies, I think, when he actually started his career. It was a big name. He was a very big name in world cricket. So when he did that, it was just laughter.
And how serious was the cricket at that stage in the 1975 World Cup? Because one-day cricket at that point wasn't an established form of the game. It was quite new, although you'd played quite a lot of it in county cricket, in things like the Gillette Cup. But how serious was the cricket?
It was very serious because it was the first World Cup and everybody wanted to win the World Cup. So you can't say it wasn't serious. And you can see the results, the matches, the way they were played. The finals, Australia, West Indies, was a huge success. The crowds and everything. So, no, I think nothing should be taken away from the event itself.
And it was a different kind of World Cup to what we have nowadays. It was just 2 weeks long. It was just 8 teams.
8 teams,
and
60 overs,
yes,
white clothes during the daytime, no restriction
So how different was it? Just give an idea of how different not just the format, but the type of cricket was.
One-day cricket has evolved. And when the Kerry Packer came on the scene, World Series, that actually changed the entire limited over cricket and professionalism in cricket. Money was brought in. And likewise, the professionalism of television marketing that was introduced by Kerry Packer. And in fact, I'm on record to say that the current cricketers and administrators, they should be thankful to Kerry for World Series cricket and Kerry Packer for what rewards that they're getting now. Because of him that money has come in, and it's because of him that television marketing went up from 2 cameras or 4 cameras to 20 cameras or 30 cameras. In the marketing, the coloured clothing, night cricket, white ball, everything. what they used to call pajama games, what they used to call as a circus, it's now bread and butter.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the 76-77 tour of Australia, where you had a significant impact in terms of performance, scoring a century in Adelaide and also at the SCG, and that's probably the most successful tour Pakistan have had of Australia up to now, and these questions of great relevance with Pakistan due to tour Australia shortly.
Right. So we have to go back a bit. Just before going to Australia, there was a tour of New Zealand. New Zealand team had come to Pakistan actually, and Mushtaq Mohammed was named the captain. And we were still playing county cricket, so when we went back to Pakistan for the series, I was told that the cricket board didn't want me in the team for whatever reason. No reason was given. The selectors were not keen to have me, and along with a couple of other players for whatever reason. And Mushtaq Mohammed was leading the team for the first time. He took a stand. He said, well, I'm captaining for the first time. I would like to have a team whom I have confidence in. And he insisted on having me in the team. And it's him who told me about this, that, they didn't want you, but, I had to fight for you. So obviously I'm thankful to him for that. And when I heard that, I was a bit disappointed because I had a very good series before that and I was doing reasonably well in county cricket too. So I had to make an extra effort to perform so that I stay my position in the team and also to repay Mushtaq Mohammed, who was the captain. As it happened, we talk about faith, belief, destiny. It was an inexperienced New Zealand team. But Pakistan had also a couple of youngsters. But the team was changed last minute. They included in the Kaab and Wasim Raja, who were not in the original team. And and those two were included in place of some youngsters who were selected by the selectors. So we were, I think, I may be wrong in numbers, but we were something like 50 or 60 for 4. When my turn came in, that was before lunch. We had lost 4 wickets. And, it was a bit of a disappointment. But anyway, my turn came and Miadad was playing for the first time. That was his debut. A kid. He was a teenager. And as it happened, myself and Javed Miadad, we had a huge partnership. I got a big 100. Miadad also got a big 100. We had a huge partnership. And not only we turned the course of the match, we won that test match. And once I scored those runs, my position was secured. I repaid the faith Mushtaq had in me. And I was far more confident as a player. But I had decided at that time that, I don't think my cricketing career is going to last long, because if that's what the selectors feel about me, I don't think I'll be given more chances. So I was just content playing that series, and I'd made up my mind that, after the series, probably I'll just come back to England and just play county cricket. As it happened, we had a lot of issues. I don't know how much you are aware of it. We had a lot of issues with the cricket board.
And this is the pay dispute, is it?
There's a pay dispute. Huge differences. Again, Mr. Kardar and I think the secretary, Zafar Altaf, they had different agendas, different plans of going forward. So once we refused to sign the contracts because they were unreasonable, because the money, now I have to go back a little bit, the professionalism I was talking about when I joined Kent, I didn't even know that, by playing cricket I can make my livelihood. Because for me playing cricket was fun, passion, and a sport that I would like to enjoy while playing. I never thought that, I'm going to earn my livelihood. My mother used to say that, what you're going to do, and I just used to laugh and say that I'm sure when I play cricket, some firm will give me a job and I'll work for them. Anyway, to cut it short, what happened was that I realized that when we play for Pakistan at home, huge number of people come, stadiums are full and all that, and yet we get nothing. When I started my career, we used to get 10 rupees per day, Pakistani 10 rupees, which is not even worth 10 pennies in today's money. 5 pence actually in today's money. So at that time I didn't really take much notice because I hadn't played for Kent. I didn't know about professionalism. This I'm talking about 1964. But as I played for county, as I realized that the cricket board is making money, but we are not getting anything out of it. So we got hold of a group of players in which we had Mushtaq, myself, I think Imran was there, Majid Khan was there, and a couple of others who joined us. And we felt that, we are not going to agree to the terms that were offered. So we refused to sign, and the cricket board straight away said that, right, we don't need to consider them, and they announced a different team to play against New Zealand in the remaining 2 test matches. So in the meantime, the media took issue with this, and then I think it was Hafiz Pirzada who was the minister at that time in the PP government, and Mr. Kardar was also a PPP guy. So I was taken to Mr. Pirzada and I explained to him that, look, for country we'll play without taking a penny. But this is our issue. We feel that if we are going to be paid, we should be paid what we deserve. It's our livelihood. Blah, blah, blah. And he totally agreed with that. And he sacked the board. And he said that, no, you guys will go to Australia, you guys will play in the remaining 2 test matches. And I don't think he sacked the board, but he told Kardar that, this is what the government would like to happen. The players should play. So we played in the remaining 2 test matches. We did exceptionally well. And then the team for Australia was announced. Again, there were some hitches. Kardar insisted on us signing a contract given by him, which we did. And eventually, we signed the contract as we wished. We got it. So when we went to Australia, I had this pressure on me as a spokesperson. I was given that role, which I did in Pakistan. So people in Australia noticed that World Series cricket, Packer and others. So they targeted me as someone who can get the players for their World Series cricket. But at that stage, we didn't know. We were only playing for Pakistan. We were concentrating on Pakistan. In the first test, I think I got a 0, a first ball and a second ball duck at Adelaide. And I got a telegram from, I'm sure it was not sort of named by the person who sent, but I realized it was either from the cricket board or one of the officials. Well played, and this is what you are fighting for. And that was soon after I got a duck, and they assumed that we were going to lose badly, blah, blah, blah. As it happened, God was kind. I scored a huge 100 in the second innings. We saved the test, and we did very well. And we went on to draw the series when we won the last test. And we again, Imran got lots of runs. I got 100. Imran got lots of wickets. I got 100, and we drew the series, which was a huge bonus for us. So my plan was, I was going to retire after the New Zealand series in Pakistan, but now that I've done well in Australia, I was also going to West Indies, because that's where we went to from Australia. So we got to West Indies, and that's when Kerry Packer, Tony Gregg, some lawyers approached me on behalf of Kerry Packer, telling me what's the plan for World Series cricket. This is what they want to do, and they would like me to be spokesperson for Pakistan team. If I could get, they gave me a list of players if I can get them. And straight away I signed as it is. I'm happy to sign, and I'm pretty confident that these players will sign, in which Mushtaq and Imran and Majid, and there were a couple of others, I'm not sure on the names. Anyway, so that's how the World Series cricket we joined, and that's why I think they targeted me, thinking that I'm the spokesperson and that the players would respect. So when I went to the players after the meeting with Greggy, I said that I have signed and this is what they've offered, and they all agreed without a second thought. I said yes, we'll join. So that's what the beginning of Kerry Packer. But at the end of the West Indies tour, last test, I didn't have a great series, but last test I had 100. I scored 100.
And that was at Jamaica? At
Jamaica, on a very difficult wicket against world's fastest bowlers, I suppose. And I cherished that 100 because I had come to conclusion that that's the end of my test career. So end of the series, end of that test, I said that I'm retiring from test cricket. And I've enjoyed playing for Pakistan. It's a huge honor, blah, blah, blah. But in a very light-hearted mood, I said that, but if ever Pakistan is going to play for India, and if I'm still alive, or even if I'm in my grave, I'll make myself available for selection because that's my dream. I've come from India and I would like to play against India.
Was it because of your emotional attachment with India, or was it because of the fact that you hadn't played India before in Test cricket?
No, it was well. That's one of the reasons.
Yes.
But nobody had played against India since I started playing for Pakistan. So, and we didn't even know that there's going to be a series. But in a light-hearted way, I said that if ever they're going to play against each other, I would like to make myself available. As it happened, although we went back and we were banned from playing for Pakistan due to Kerry Packer's commitments. Zia, who was the president of the country, he also sort of just banished us. He said that we don't need these players. And a team led by I think Wasim Akram, he captained in Pakistan, and also he brought the team to England. They got thrashed very badly. And then there was this announcement that India is going to come to Pakistan. And General Zia didn't want India to come to Pakistan and thrash Pakistan after what happened in England. So straight away, invitations were sent to us that you guys are welcome. If you want, then you can come and play for Pakistan. And my dream came true, and I said yes.
Just going back slightly, 1977, you led Kent to the county championship title. Was that the highlight of your captaincy career?
For Kent, yes, of course. I mean, the fact that I was made the captain, I was, hugely sort of surprised as well as I felt honoured. But what was disappointing is when I won the championship, and also before the start of that particular season, I was captain Kent for the first time, and I was given the assurance that since I'm no more involved with Pakistan cricket because I had made the announcement of my retirement, that it's not going to affect my captaincy and that I can continue being captain. So when I won the championship, or joint champions we were with Middlesex, I was pretty confident that I'll continue playing for Kent and that I will be captaining. But they sacked me, and they sacked me as captain, and the reason given was Kerry Packer's involvement, my involvement with Kerry Packer. So I was very disappointed, and I lost interest in playing for Kent after that. Although I played for I think 2 or 3 years after that. 3 years, I think I played, or 4 years. But I was playing purely for my benefit. But my passion had gone, and I was not interested. Although I was made captain again by Kent for the second
early 80s.
Yeah, for the second time I was made, but by that time I had lost the passion for the game. I was disappointed.
And it was a different sort of county championship back then because there was no 2 divisions, and you didn't start the season as early as they do nowadays. It was more starting early May, finishing mid-September. These days we see the county championship starting first week of April, or like 5th April it started this
cricket
year.
Has evolved. Don't forget, the current cricketers, they play county cricket, they play ODIs, they play T20, I don't know what all they play. And the number of matches have reduced substantially. We used to play 30 plus matches. And all the 7 days of the week we used to play 6 days county and Sunday league, things like that. But cricket has evolved. There's much more requirement of fitness now for players because they're playing different formats and it needs different demands. The fielding standards have gone tremendously high. And I do believe that county cricket needs to be played more than what they play now, because that's what this sort of produced Test cricket is. But on the other hand, having said that, on the other hand, the money that comes in is purely from T20s. So the big bags, the PSL, the IPL, and now the 100 ball is coming, so it's different now.
Now, during your time at Kent, you captained Derek Underwood as well.
Yes.
Right. What made him so deadly on uncovered pitches? Was it the pace he bowled at? Was it his accuracy?
Yes. Firstly, the uncovered pitches, because not easy. And the pace that he used to bowl at, and being a spinner, that's not easy. But the greatest thing that I've seen in my Kent career was Derek Underwood bowling on those kind of wickets and Alan not keeping wickets. It's not easy to keep wickets for Derek Underwood on those type of wickets, and I think Marty was the greatest wicketkeeper I've ever seen.
Right. So you've answered my next question. My next question was who's the better gloveman, Wasim Bari or Alan Knott? You're going to give them
no comparison.
Okay. Alan Knott.
Bari was very good. There's no doubt about it, but no comparison.
Right. And during your time at Kent, you also captained Chris Tavares. Now, he's a very popular character within the game for his notoriously slow scoring. Was he similar at Kent? Did you just grind it out for long periods of time? And was he a bowler's dream because he gave bowlers sufficient rest by just spending hours in the middle, and he loved batting?
I don't remember him being like that in county cricket. He
Right.
used to take
In a
reasonable
more
pace. And
okay.
in Test cricket, I think he was more like that. But no, I think Chris Tavares and there were others. Chris Cowdery was there. Then Paul Downton. I remember when I became the captain, Alan Knott was on Test duty. I think he'd gone for some Test duties, and we used to have David Nichols. I think he was wicket keeper, but he was backstopper, not really keeper. And I dropped him, and I said this boy should be given a chance because I think he's going to be next England wicket keeper. So there was a huge sort of surprise as well as disappointment, obviously, people who were supportive of David Nichols. But he understood when I told him the reason he's being dropped is because we need a wicket keeper, not just a stopper who could bat, because he was used to bat as well. And Paul Downton proved me right. I mean, he played for England, I think, within a year or two after he played for Kent.
Yes, played in the World Cup final in 1987.
He did,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So, yeah, he was pretty good.
And you also played alongside Bob Wilmer, and you in fact captained him. And did you continue that friendship once he was coach of Pakistan?
Yes, I did. He was a very nice human being. He was also with Kerry Packer. He came to Packer for the second season. And he was a very fine human being. He was passionate about cricket. He was passionate about his profession. And for him, coaching was a serious job. And I think he is responsible for bringing lots of innovations in cricket coaching. I think he is responsible for that.
And then, so towards the end of the 70s, you played World Series cricket. Just give us an idea of the standard of the cricket that was played, because the matches weren't officially recognised as international matches as such.
Well, to start with, if you are talking about what quality of cricket, if you look at the names that played for World 11, that played for Australia and for West Indies, they were all the best players. Best players. I mean, there was no doubt about that. The only thing was that there were no crowds because people were not accepting that an unofficial event is taking place because they were so used to the traditional form of the sport. And that's when Packer invented this night cricket. That's when,
And was that your first experience of the night cricket?
Yes, obviously.
Because I suppose you didn't play any floodlight cricket while you were with Pakistan.
No, we knew nothing about it.
Okay.
And I think if I'm almost certain I'm right that I was the first person to score 100 in floodlight cricket for Packer. And again, that's a cute story that Kerry Packer was playing golf, I think in Hawaii or somewhere, when he heard that West Indies and Australia had a great one-day night cricket match, and there was a huge crowd, sellout crowd. So he took the flight and he came to watch the next match, which was between World 11 and West Indies. And he came straight from the airport to VFL Park, where we were playing in Melbourne. And he walked in and he said, guys, I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a pity that it'll be a one-sided match. The West Indies are too good for World 11. And wish it was Australia playing today, because they had a very close and a very good match, the first one. So I was sitting there and I was quite friendly. Well, he was friendly with everyone. He was quite friendly with Kerry. And I said, Kerry, I'll take a bet with you that we are going to beat them. And he said, oh, come on, don't talk rubbish. So I said, I'll take a bet. He said, no, I don't want to take your money. But okay, you're $1, I'll give you $100 if you beat West Indies. And I said, yeah, on. As it happened, we won. And Imran and I had a good partnership, and in the end we won. And there used to be a VFL Park is a football ground, so there's a tunnel. And there's a video on, I think, YouTube or somewhere, that you can see Kerry Packer with a $100 bill walking out of the tunnel, walking towards me, and I'm coming from the ground and giving me a huge hug and just congratulating and saying that well done.
Right.
That's something that I very fondly remember.
So during the 78-79, when India toured Pakistan and the relations resumed cricketing-wise, you had a good series. You got 100 in your comeback test match. But I'd like you to talk about a run chase in the third test match where you scored at extraordinary pace. You chased 180 in around 25 overs. And back then it was completely unheard of scoring at that pace.
The first test I got a duck in the first innings and got 100 in the second innings. So that was very satisfying because it was a dream playing against India. And I suppose I was overwhelmed, I don't know, when I played. But anyway, so we had a very good series. We won 2 out of the 3 test matches. And in the second test also, I got not many, but got enough runs to contribute for the win. And Shahid Abbas had a great series in that 3-match series. And in Karachi, then I opened with, I think, Majid Khan. And then eventually with Miadad, we had a run chase. And Miadad was literally, I was supposed to be a very fast runner in international cricket, but Miadad, he overpaced me in everything. But we had a great run chase. And I remember Bishan Bedi bowling, and I just played a ball back towards Bishan very slowly. And Miadad just looked at me and we just agreed and we took a run. So Bedi, instead of chasing the ball and trying to run us out, he just stood there with his hands on his head and saying in typical Punjabi, "Kitni beizati karoge?" So that was very significant at that moment for us. But Imran contributed hugely in that match. He came back. I think he came into scores not very many runs, but a few runs. But he scored in no time whatsoever. He hit a few sixes, I think. And then we won that series 2-0. Although I think one can question the second victory in the second test about some certain decisions, but the third test was fair and square. In fact, the umpiring went in India's favour because Sunil, who got, I think, 100 in both the innings, he was given not out twice in that innings. But again, Sunil was Sunil. He was a great batsman.
Right. So moving on now to the 1979 World Cup, and this time Pakistan managed to qualify for the semi-finals, unlike 4 years previously. And you've openly admitted that you regret the decision you made at the toss to insert the West Indies.
Absolutely.
Just give us an idea of that game, because you had a major impact with the ball in that game. You took all top 4 wickets.
Yeah. So the captain, when he makes a decision, it's not his decision.
Right.
You consult your senior cricketers. In those days there were no coaches, but our manager was Javed Burke. He was an ex-test cricketer. So we consulted, and I think I was influenced more by the bowlers rather than the batsmen. And I regret 2 things in that World Cup semi-finals. A, the decision to field first, and the second decision was not to change the batting order. When we had such a good partnership between Majid and Zahir, and instead of sending inexperienced players, I think I should have changed the batting order. But these are all, things that have happened, and now you can sit and talk about it. But we had a very good World Cup campaign. We got into the semi-finals, and we lost to, in fact, both in the 75 and 79 to teams that went on to win the World Cup.
And did you ever consider sticking around for 1983, because you were still active in county cricket in the early 80s?
No. Answer to that, we went to India.
Yes.
After 79. And I mean, for me, that was my ultimate. I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything more. An immigrant to Pakistan, going back to India as a player, representing Pakistan, and to cap it all, being captain. So I couldn't have asked for anything more. So there's no way I was going to continue playing after the Indian series. I had made up my mind. I had informed the cricket board. I think it was General Azhar who was the president of the board. Hugely respected human being, and I have great regards for him. he understood and he accepted my reasoning. But he insisted that I should go as captain because there were rumors that I shouldn't be. For various reasons. One of the reasons was that Indians were very unhappy that I had left them, I had sort of ditched them. There were rumors that they were going to do silly things, they were going to create silly issues or problems and things like that. And again, my uncle Ghulam Ahmed, who was the once captain of India, he was the secretary of the Indian Cricket Board at that time. He had come with, I think it was Mr. Rungta, who was the Indian president of Cricket Board of India. They had come to Pakistan for finalizing the itinerary in tour details. And my uncle, I remember sitting at her home, he had come to her house and laughing, and he said that, I wish you are not the captain because you are not going to win. So I laughed and I said that, well, I've accepted. I don't think we are going to win because we won here in Pakistan, we beat India. And it's only fair that if you guys win there. But when I said that, I didn't really mean it, but I had in the back of my mind that there was, in the second test in Lahore, there were certain decisions that were unfair. And I knew that Indians haven't forgotten that. And I had in my back of my mind that we are going to get some bad decisions. So we went to India and I was the captain and Mushtaq Mohammed was dropped from the team because the selectors felt that his form is no longer worthy of a position. And I do remember, I did insisted on having Mush in the team, and that too as a captain, not as a player, because he was the captain. Because and I remember saying that if it's not going to be the captain, then that's fair enough not to have him in the team. Because I think for a captain to be an ex-captain and not being a regular member of the team is not fair. Anyway, he was dropped, and I remember Sarfraz Ahmed, he was dropped too, purely on disciplinary grounds, nothing else, nothing personal. So I remember when I was told by the president of the Pakistan Board, General Azhar, that there is a strong recommendation from the government. I think there was Secretary of Information, General Mujib. Yeah, I think that was his name. I may be wrong. That he wanted Sarfraz Nawaz to be a member of the team. And I said, sure, he's good enough and he deserves a place in the team. But if we are going to go to India and if I'm the captain, I wouldn't like to be responsible because I can't manage Sarfraz Nawaz as a player, as a person off the field. I said I can't manage because he has his own personality. So based on that, he was not selected and we went to India.
And one of the bowlers you took was Sikandar Bakht, and now he's very famous these days in terms of television and being a cricket analyst. Was he as confident and outspoken then? Or has his character changed?
He was just a kid. He was just a kid. But he performed. In the second or third test, I think it was, he got 8 wickets, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. He performed exceptionally well when Imran got injured. But we had disappointment on that series because Imran got injured. Then Imran started the test in Bombay, and after bowling 1 over, he got injured. After assuring me that he's fit and he should be playing, so that was a disappointment. I think that also caused us a lot of disappointment as well as a huge loss not having him in the team. But we lost the series. We lost the Bombay test, I think, unfairly. But fair and square, we were beaten in Madras, and we were outplayed. And India played better cricket than us. And unfortunately for us, Zahir Abbas couldn't get a run on that tour, on the series. He lost confidence. He didn't perform well. And we lost fair and square. And the last test match in Calcutta, we went to play the last test. That's when I announced that I'm going to retire.
And you got a standing ovation from the crowd.
Standing ovation, which I can never ever sort of get out of my system, because that was the ground. I went as a school kid playing for All India schools tournament representing Hyderabad. And I remember we were taken to Eden Gardens to show the stadium. And I remember telling my friends, one day I will be playing here for India in Test cricket. Well, I did play, but not for India. And that was something which, I really cherished, and I was satisfied. Although we lost the series, but I was satisfied. I was grateful. I was thankful to God.
So you played 2 further seasons of county cricket before packing up in 1982.
Yeah, but that county cricket was, as I said, it was purely for my benefit here. My heart was not in it after being the way I was treated. But I gave my best, but I was good enough.
Okay. So now just concentrating on a few specifics of your career, some things that really stood out was your conversion rate in Test match cricket. Whenever you got 50s, you tended to get to hundreds. 12, we got more hundreds than you got 50s in Test cricket. Is that something that you're very pleased about, looking back?
I'm very pleased, but I never thought about it.
Okay. And also you got hundreds against all Test opponents that you played against. It was a small world in those days. There was no, obviously, South Africa or Sri Lanka only became a Test nation in 82. And how pleased were you about your performance overseas to be able to score Test hundreds in England, Australia and New Zealand?
And West Indies.
And West Indies, yeah.
India I didn't. That's,
India,
I feel bad about that. I wish I had. But anyway, look, I never paid any attention to records. I never did. Because as I said, I used to play for enjoyment. For me, it was fun playing. It was a sport. It's only in 70 against New Zealand when I was dropped, or rather they were going to drop me, but Mushtaq took a stand. I think it was 76, 75, 76. I really took it seriously. I said, no, you have to concentrate. You just can't take it lightly anymore. Because when I used to play for fun. And even whether I think I got out a couple of times in 90s also. I was stumped of all the things. But it was fun. I used to enjoy, and I remember Kent County playing for Kent. The spectators, they loved me because they always say that you're laughing whether you get a duck, whether you get 100, or whether you're bowling or batting or fielding. So my take on that was that, it's a sport, it's an enjoyment, and we are professionals who are being paid to entertain the crowd. So for me, it was entertainment value. So, but representing the countries was not entertainment. I realized it too a little bit later in my career, but still I'm satisfied with what all I did.
How do you look back at your captaincy? Because although you didn't captain that much, whatever captaincy you did, it was high-profile captaincy. It was World Cup or a Test series against India. How do you look at your captaincy career in terms of, it's always high-profile matches that meant a lot to a lot of people, the ones you captained?
I think, unfortunately, I didn't get a fair deal in captaining my country and county also, to start with. Kerry gave me a fair deal because I was the vice captain, but Tony Greig didn't perform well and he was dropped. I was made the captain of World 11 and we beat Australia. We beat West Indies.
At the SCG, the one you got 100.
Yeah, at the SCG. So the reason I said I wasn't given a fair deal is in 1969, Mr. Kardar, I was playing county cricket, and this is something which, not many people know, but I have no shame or hesitation in talking about it. Intikhab Alam and myself were invited to Mr. Kardar's. He was staying in a flat in central London. And he said that, right, guys, New Zealand is coming to Pakistan. I want Asif, you to be the captain, and Intikhab will be the vice captain. And you two guys, because you're playing county cricket, so you form your team. Both of you discuss amongst ourselves and decide what kind of team you're going to have. So that was great. Now what happened is, this is 69. I got married in 68. I come to Pakistan after my marriage after we got married in India, in Hyderabad. I get back and I was offered a job in PIA, which I accepted because, again, for me, cricket was fun, but profession, it was because of cricket I'm getting a job, so I accepted the job in PIA. So there used to be a chairman of Karachi Cricket Association, and I could be wrong, but I think his name was Mr. Muzaffar. I don't remember his name. Janama, assalamu alaikum. Can I call you back? Okay. 10 minutes?
5 minutes.
Within 10 minutes, yeah. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. So I joined PIE, which meant that I was not playing for Karachi Cricket Association. Although when I returned from England after winning, it's too complicated, but I want to just say it briefly. Returned from England after my heroics, so-called heroics. I was honoured by Karachi Cricket Association. They lavished gifts at me. They gave me huge honour and whatnot. I was also given pride of performance by, I think it was President Ayub Khan at that time. So it was a huge honour. But when I accepted the job which was given to me, I think it was Mr. Umar Qureshi. He was commentator. He was a director in PIE. So in '69, when Kardar proposed me and Inti as captain and vice captain, this gentleman, the president of Karachi Cricket Association, he took a stand that no, Asif Iqbal should not be made the captain for whatever reasons. I don't want to go into that. And he fought for me not being the captain, whereas Kardar had given me his word, but he was outvoted, I suppose, and it was reversed. So that was a bit disappointing for me because a night before the announcement, a day before the announcement, I was told that you are going to be the captain. Anyway, so that was a bit disappointing, but I had forgiven it and forgotten it. And I was supportive of Inti and everything that he did. And as I said, he captained successfully in New Zealand when we beat New Zealand. And surprisingly, he was sacked, which was a huge disappointment. Then again, I was the vice captain, although I was not made the captain. Inti was again made the captain after that Majid Khan sacking. And all those things, they did affect me. But end of the day, I felt that I was honored being made the captain. And I really, really felt that I should not be carrying that baggage of the past, why I was not made, why I was not given a fair chance. The fact that I was made was good enough for me to be grateful.
And relating things to modern matters, this year we saw England win the World Cup for the first time and finally conquer global success in a 50-over game. As someone who's played a lot of county cricket and is now settled in England, were you pleased for England that they could finally achieve something substantial in the one-day game this year?
Yeah, I was pleased for England for reaching the finals.
Right.
I don't think I was pleased the way England won. I think that should have been shared between England and New Zealand. I did, and I can understand because the rules were such they couldn't have gone for an extra over because the rules were made that way. But the rules were also made that number of boundaries, so they decided according to that. But I think that was a silly rule. No cricketer in his right mind would agree to what happened at Lord's on that fateful World Cup final evening. It should have been shared between New Zealand and England because New Zealand deserved. They played outstanding cricket. But our faith and belief is such that destiny always conquers, and England were destined to win.
Okay, and we've had a change of captaincy for Pakistan with Azhar Ali taking over the Test role. Now you've gone on record saying that you didn't feel that Sarfraz was suited to the Test captaincy after the Test series in South Africa. You didn't feel that his playing style necessarily suited the longer form of the game or his captaincy style, and he was more suited towards the shorter formats.
I'm not really.
Okay.
I don't remember saying that it's suited. I may have said it, but after that series, his performances, both as captain and as player, didn't warrant him to stay as captain in Test cricket. Sure.
Yeah.
So I did say that when he was changed, that I don't think there's any criticism for that. It's only fair. Because not only the team didn't win, his own performance also didn't warrant his position as a captain or as a player in the Test. Limited over crickets, again, I feel that he should have been given a chance for this Australian tour. I think T20 they're playing.
Yes.
He should have been given a chance, and if he hadn't performed as a captain and player, then he should have been sacked. But again, then, board has decided time to change. They changed. So I don't really have a huge sort of complaint or criticism of changing Sarfraz as captain.
And do you feel it's going to be an advantage now for the new Test captain, because he doesn't play limited overs cricket and he can just concentrate on Test cricket, and he's got an important year or so coming up, 2 Test matches here in Australia, and of course Pakistan back here next summer for 3 Test matches.
Yeah, and I think before that they're also playing Sri Lanka.
Yes, but in terms of the major cricket, big tours.
Yeah, but Sri Lanka is a World Cup, World Test cricket.
World Test Championship, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, every match is important when you're representing your country. Yes, I would like to see Azhar given a longer run. Not that if he doesn't perform in Australia, he should be sacked. No, I think he should be given up to England to see that, whether or not he's capable of dealing the captaincy.
And do you feel that he's had a taste of captaincy in the shorter formats?
He didn't perform.
And do you feel that will help him in some way, that he's had a taste of captaincy in 50-over cricket? Because Test cricket is his stronger format, so he should be more comfortable in this format.
Yeah, I think the role of captain is not really judged by his personal performance. It's what best you can get from the others. And I remember in India when we lost the series, when I announced my retirement, one of the reasons I gave was that I failed in getting the best out of my team. We had some great players, Majid Khan, Zahir Abbas, Miyadad. I mean, they were huge names, but they didn't perform.
Right.
So I said the reason I should go is because I failed to get the best out of my players.
So you're of the Mike Brealey school of captaincy. It's about extracting the best from your team as opposed to leading from the front.
I believe in that.
Okay. And just lastly, we've had Wasim Khan now in the Pakistan Cricket Board for a year. There's been a lot of opposition to him. Some of it is not warranted. What do you make of him so far in terms of the decisions he's made, and what are your impressions of him so far?
Most of it is unwarranted, I think. Most of it, not some of it. The thing is that Ehsan Mani, I have great regards for. He has been ICC's president, and he has changed not just ICC's way of running running ICC. Look, he was I think, chairman of the finance committee. He was also in marketing, the television dealings he had and all that. So he is the right choice for the chairmanship. And when he took over, he made clear that, he's not going to make cricketing decisions. He's going to make committees who are going to make the cricketing decisions, which he did. He announced the committees. Then he brought Wasim Khan from England, who passionately loves Pakistan, and he gave up, I think, his position here in Leicester. There was a chance of him becoming the ECB, chief executive also. So the only question mark I have is that will he be able to convert the mindset of people who he's going to work with in Pakistan, because it's not an easy place to work with, and to change the mindsets of people who have been working in a totally failed system, totally. But having said that, I think he should be given the chance, he should be given the full opportunity. Ehsan is there to support him, and Ehsan is not going to make decisions which are cricketing decisions. It's the decisions made by the cricket committees. Ehsan is only there to supervise it, and I think they'll do a good job.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, Asif Iqbal.
Welcome.